Airing myself. There.
There
I
we
knew
go.
it. I
Did
knew
it.
it. Okay. All right. So, hi, everyone. It's awesome to have you here today to talk about Author Platform. As Amy said, we are Evergreen Authors. My name is Roseanne Cheng. I'm here with Josie Robinson. We're both Wise Inc. authors. We've got a whole bunch of books between us. I've kind of lost count at this point.
Thank you.
And we have worked with hundreds of authors over the years to figure out how to sell their books in ways that are joyful and sustainable for them. So kind of our angle here is about creating a marketing plan for you and your book that is something that brings you joy, that you want to do. We feel really, really passionately that if any of this marketing work is a chore, that you are really unlikely to continue doing it. And I'm sure as you hear from Wise Inc. all the time, or from whoever is publishing you or helping you through this journey, that selling books is a long game and not a sprint. So we are all about doing things slowly with intention and letting the data kind of be our guide. So Josie, did I miss anything? Is that?
No, just one more point I want to make is that I feel like we're one of the only places that it's like we're real life authors teaching other real life authors. Like our whole thing is like, we've been in the trenches doing this stuff, doing all the marketing too. I think that there's a lot of people teaching book marketing who haven't necessarily been authors themselves. And so the reality is both Roseanne and I have like been there, done that with like so many marketing things. And like, we really have like a no BS approach when it comes to book marketing. Like if it's worked for us, it's probably going to work for you too. And so we really take that approach of just a real common sense, like real world book marketing approach. So.
Yep. And if you haven't already, if there's more people here and I haven't seen, but if you haven't already, please put in the chat your book title, if you have one already, or any information that you have that you think would be relevant to us as we're talking. This is going to be a super informal presentation. So we're just going to answer questions together. Josie and I do our best work when we're just sort of off the cuff answering questions as they come. So we've really gathered a whole collection of all of our most asked author platform questions. And we're just going to talk through them. And if you have questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat. Josie's going to be monitoring that. We'll do our best to integrate those answers in as we go. And then at the end of the presentation, there will be the last slide is, what did we miss? So you can feel free to ask questions at the end as well. Okay, so let's get started on the most frequently asked question, which is, what exactly is an author platform? I'm guessing for all of you on this call, you've heard the term used before, but you might not know exactly what it is. So Josie and I have a very specific definition of the author platform. Josie, you can tell them.
Well, the definition of author platform is, what it means basically is like who you say it. I'm sorry. I need the slide in front of me.
It's two things: who you are,
yeah,
and who you can reach, right? Mm-hmm. So who you are can be, yourself personally, because you're talking about your own autobiographical story. Maybe it's who you are as a business person. Maybe it's who you are as a travel guide or some sort of professional expert. And then the who you can reach portion of your platform is who you have access to in that capacity, right? So a lot of times when authors get to this point where someone's saying, you should be thinking about an author platform, their immediate thought is, I don't have 1,000 followers on my Facebook page, and Facebook is the author platform, so that's what I should be doing. But the reality is that your author platform is a combination of all sorts of different things. Social media can be part of an author platform. Your website is part of your platform. Maybe you have a mailing list that's part of your platform. Maybe you're listening to this going, I have none of those things. This is my very first book, and I have no idea how to create any of those things from scratch. And I must be like really behind the ball at this point. You're absolutely not. We feel as though when you get really honest with who you are and who you can reach, that your author platform sort of organically reveals itself to you. So for me, with my first two books, I'm a former high school English teacher. So my first two fiction books were for middle grade and high school students. So I didn't have a huge presence on social media. I wasn't some sort of famous teacher. I just was somebody with a couple of really good book ideas. So the who I was, who I still am, is a teacher, right? Well, who I could reach as a teacher it meant, that meant me kind of tapping into my educational networks. A lot of times people think, oh, I can't reach anybody. Actually, you can, if you start really organically within your circle, then that helps you to sort of expand from there, right? So I started creating a platform that was speaking specifically to teachers, because teachers would be the people that would be buying my books, hopefully, right? So it's sort of an incremental process of figuring out, the who you are that you want to share with the world, and who you can reach and who you are willing to reach. Josie, did I miss anything?
No, what I would say was also what we talk about a lot. We have like a formal author platform presentation that we give too, but what we talk about a lot in that is when we talk about when you're developing the who you are part, when you're going to market your book, is to make sure that the who you are part is relevant to your book. And I know that seems like common sense, but you'd be amazed at how many authors try to build their brands around, say, like you have a hard-hitting mystery author who is like sharing recipes all the time. Do you know what I mean? You want to like build be the who you are, like, oh, somebody who's really interested in true crime mysteries, instead of like just sharing recipes. You want it to be similar. So for example, I'm a self-help author about write books about the power of gratitude, and I built my who I am just about the story of how I started practicing gratitude. That became my whole who I am. I just focused on sharing how gratitude impacted my life. That was I didn't share my other stuff, like my love of Stephen King, or, you know what I mean? Things that weren't relevant to that. So I feel like that's another point that authors really need to be aware of, is to, when you are focusing on your who you are, just make it relevant to your book genre.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, well, we have a bunch more examples of that coming up here too. So you'll see what we mean. But if anybody has any questions about just this general definition, who you are and who you can reach, you can put it in the chat.
That's it in a nutshell though. Yep.
Okay. So the next, and we get this all the time too. So I don't have a platform at all yet. Is that okay? Not only is that okay, we think that's kind of awesome, because it means that you can start from a place of really true intention, right? So I said in earlier on the last slide that you're going to have these different elements of your platform. Some people who are, full-time authors, right? They might have all sorts of different types of platforms out there. They have a weekly newsletter, and they have an amazing interactive website, and they have several social media presences. And that's great if that works for them. But for other authors, they might be working two jobs, and they are an accountant by day and they write sci-fi at night, right? They might say, look, I don't have time or energy for any of that. So what we tell to authors like that is, you have a really great, unique opportunity to create a platform that is or engage in a platform that is going to work for you. So we wrote a book last year called The Evergreen Author, and we have a whole bunch of author examples in there. But we've worked with authors who have had, look, all I'm willing to do is a Facebook group. That's that's my platform, right? That's totally fine. We have plenty of authors also who say, I won't touch Facebook with a 10-foot pole, but I am willing to write a monthly blog, or maybe a weekly blog, or maybe a weekly newsletter, right? It's all about finding a way of engaging those people that you can reach in a way that is sustainable and enjoyable for you. And so I do think that if you are in the type of situation where you don't have a website yet, or you don't have any sort of social media yet, you are not behind the curve at all. In fact, I kind of think it's optimal when you're starting out, because that means that you can be really, really intentional.
Also too, we should mention that we've worked with several authors who have built author platforms off of the internet,
Oh, yes.
So if you're somebody who doesn't want to be on any social media or have a website or anything like that, we have several authors that we know who have found ways to build an author platform, like I said, totally offline.
Yep.
Like through speaking or, networking or connecting with the main thing is just finding where your readers are hanging out and connecting with them in whatever way works best for you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right. I'm trying to, no questions.
I think I just
Oh, okay.
I'll let you
Well,
answer though.
yes. So do I have to be on social media? This is like our favorite thing. No, you do not have to be on social media. And we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about social media, but we're very transparent about having a love-hate relationship with social media. Mainly hate, to be totally honest with you. It's just a huge time suck, right? And so we have certainly seen many authors harness the power of social media to sell a ton of books. But in terms of sustainability, it has to be something very intentional to you. So I will say, and we're going to talk about the different types of social media coming up, but I'm in all sorts of different groups that talk about social media changes and things that are happening, author groups, just talking about what they're seeing in marketing as it pertains to social media. And one of the ones that I think I hear about the most is Twitter, because many authors have come to us and said, I need to be on everybody's telling me I need to be on Twitter. So I'm going to have to tweet 15 times a day. And I'm just going to create a platform there because someone said that I should be on Twitter. And if I do think that going into any sort of social media platform with that attitude is kind of setting yourself up for failure in the long run. You might have a spurt of energy that gets you through a couple of months, but for the long term, that's really something hard to sustain. So, again, the broader answer, of course, is no, you do not have to be on social media. If that doesn't bring you joy, don't. But on the flip side, there are plenty of authors that we've worked with who love social media. They're on Facebook all the time. They're posting their Wordle or whatever. They love their little chat groups. They've got all sorts of articles they like to share. If that is a place that is joyful for you, then chances are that's going to be sustainable for you. So you might want to consider it. Okay. What are the best social media platforms for authors? This is a trick question, everyone, because the answer is not a one size fits all. If your book is a business book, chances are your best social media platform is going to be LinkedIn. If your book is general fiction, you might find more success on a place like Facebook. If your book is highly visual and we have a photography book in this group here. If you have all sorts of visuals to share, Instagram is probably where it's at for you, something for you to consider. So can I talk about TikTok for a second?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So I want to talk, is anybody hearing about how every author should be on TikTok right now? Has anybody walked into a Barnes and Noble lately and seen the book talk table? TikTok is everywhere right now. It's probably one of the most powerful social media platforms right now. And I'm seeing a lot of authors really want to jump on the TikTok bandwagon and figure out a way to capitalize on that. And the truth of the matter is, every platform, every social media platform is going to have its pros and cons. So the last thing you want to do is just jump in because this is the new, next, brightest, most exciting thing. You want to go to the social media platform that is probably going to be where your readers are. And a lot of times authors will ask us, well, we don't know. We don't know where our readers are. That's where some of this work, this intentional background work comes in for you. This is kind of your responsibility as an author. And for a lot of the people we work with, it's as simple as maybe asking their beta readers, maybe asking their book club friends, where do you find your book recommendations? Where do you go to get your information? I think that can be some of the most powerful sorts of ways of vetting your social media platforms. But you really just want to be sure that if your readers are there or your potential buyers are there, so if you have a children's book, then you're probably targeting parents. You're going to want to make sure that you are in those places. Josie, did I miss anything?
No, you got it. Yep.
No? Okay. So they all have pros and cons. They're all different. Okay. So how often should I be connecting with my readers using my platforms? I think that let's just stick with social media just for a second. Every social media platform is different. Like I said, we have someone we work with on LinkedIn who's just a total expert on all the things with that platform. That's kind of one of the only platforms that we're really engaged on, just as Evergreen Authors, and really just as people, truly. Well, me, you're not even on LinkedIn, Josie, but she basically revealed to us that, LinkedIn rewards people who are only posting like once a day. They don't reward a ton of content. Reward, when I say the word reward, I really mean like kind of boosting you in the algorithm and making sure that people are seeing what you're posting. LinkedIn is all about quality over quantity, whereas something like Twitter is all about quantity over quality. I have heard all sorts of differing opinions on Facebook and Instagram, but those maybe 3, 4, 5 times a week. So the long answer to the social media question of how often you should be connecting with readers on your platforms, it depends on the social media platform that you're working with. If you have something that is off of social media, like a newsletter or maybe a blog, I would say my answer to this question would be you should be connecting with readers as often as you have something to share with them. I really don't think it's a great idea to say, I'm going to be sending out a newsletter 3 times a week if you don't have enough content for a 3 times per week newsletter. It's the same with a blog. We're all about having one really great blog post as opposed to 25 mediocre ones. So you should be connecting with people as often as you have something to share with them, where maybe you have a discounted price for your books, maybe you're doing a speaking event, maybe you have some sort of special going on that you want to share, a teaching event or something like that. But we're a little bit different in that we don't think that you should be setting any sort of arbitrary connection schedule or arbitrary content calendar just for the sake of connecting a lot. Because I do think that, you guys probably don't have to look any further than your inbox to know that when people are just kind of constantly sending you stuff all the time, your eyes tend to gloss over because it's unnecessary.
I want to bring up a point too about connecting with your readers or just connecting with your audience in general, because something that we hear a lot from authors when it comes to social media, especially from some of the authors that we work with who are super savvy on social media, who have like these huge Instagram followings, or doing the perfect posts, it's going great, but yet they're like, I'm not selling any books. So what I want to point out is that like social media is not, necessarily the best tool for selling books. There are other tools I think that are better, like say targeted advertising or live speaking or things like that. When it comes to like straight book sales, social media is not necessarily the tool to do that. Okay. It's like the tool to connect. That's really what it is. And so if you're like an author who's like, I just want to sell my book, you know what I mean? Like, I just want it to reach readers, then, you know, maybe like posting on social media all the time isn't the best for you. You know, I'm just saying. So if you want to, but it's the tool to connect with readers. Am I saying this like delicately enough, Roseanne?
I don't think yeah, I think you could be less delicate, to be honest, because I think that this is something we just coached with somebody very recently about this. She had a business book, and she had a pretty good following on LinkedIn, and she was frustrated. She was like, I am posting about my book every week, and I don't see any sales. And I don't understand, because I've created this huge platform. I did all this work to bring these people in, and people aren't buying my book on LinkedIn. And we had to tell her, well, the reason is because people aren't necessarily going to social media type platforms to be sold to. You guys know this as just human beings in society. We're kind of sick of being sold to all the time, right? So if you are using social media as a platform, you need to think about it way above and beyond just selling books and turning a profit with every post. You don't want to necessarily gauge your success on social media based on conversions in that way. Just in the same way that you wouldn't want to gauge your success based on likes and comments, right? It's really all about, you're going to want to gauge your success based on how much you're enjoying being on that platform, and how organically you think that you're actually reading your ideal readers. Josie says this all the time, that what we want to do as authors is be a matchmaker between our book and the ideal reader. So you don't want to be selling your book to people who don't want it all the time. Not everybody is going to be buying your book, especially after your initial launch, you know, when all of your friends and family and all these people who love you, they buy the book to support you. But after that happens, continually posting to those same people isn't going to continue to sell books. You want to create, if you're looking to create a community of readers, you're going to have to think a lot more broadly than that. And so that is why when Josie talks about this idea of being a matchmaker between your book and the ideal reader, we feel that targeted advertising is really just a more simple approach to that.
Totally. So if you want straight sales, targeted advertising, especially on Amazon, that's like,
yeah,
the most efficient way to do it. But if you want to connect, build a platform of people and an audience of engaged readers, then yes, build a platform on social media that doesn't say like, buy my book all the time, because that's not at all what it's for. It's for like, hey, here's a book that I just read that I think you guys will enjoy. That's not necessarily your book, you know, but it's related to your genre. That's a good way to do it. Or here's something I think you'll find useful. If you're perpetually useful and helpful and inspiring to your audience, that's what you want to go for with social media.
Yep. Okay, so what are the most common mistakes you see authors make on their platforms?
I think what I just said.
Yes.
Buy my book, buy my book, buy my book.
Sure. Oh. Yes. So that is for sure the number one thing is,
can I say this too?
Yeah.
Especially when it's a genre that I'm not interested in at all. And Roseanne and I, you know, since we coach authors, we get pitched all the time from authors, read my book, buy my book. And we're like, no, you know, just because we help authors doesn't mean we want to read your book. Like I have very specific genres that I like to read in, you know, and most people do. So the buy my book approach to a huge audience is like the worst approach ever. But if you can get your book in front of the right people, then yes, it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. I have strong feelings about this, as Roseanne knows. So,
well, it pains us. It pains us when we see it, because we know that you're putting yourself in a vulnerable situation when you ask for a sale in that way. So that's why we're all about, you know, taking away the component of selling to people that might not want it and really being intentional about reaching people who would potentially want it. That's all about kind of understanding who you can reach and where your audience spends time, right? I would say one of the things Josie and I talk about a lot is the bumper sticker test. which I think relates to this question. So the idea is that when you go to an author website, I do think that as an author, part of your platform should be to have a website of some kind, a landing page of some kind. One of my favorite authors, I just went to her website like last week and I couldn't believe how simple it was. This is like an Oprah's book club pick. She was like one of the most instrumental authors for me in my creative career. And I looked at her website. It was so simple and basic because she's really not on there much. She's not blogging a lot. She's not on social media directing people there. So anyway, what I'm saying is you should have a website, and it should be, it can be as simple or as complicated as you want it to be. But we have seen many authors send us, before maybe a coaching session, they'll send us their author website, and it is a hodgepodge. It is all sorts of pictures and pages of things that aren't related to their platform, that the who they are, that they're trying to sell, right? Or they're trying to connect. So, if you are a business book writer and your web page has a page for recipes and, ideas for your home or whatever, that's not passing what we call the bumper sticker test. Your website should really show very clearly what you're all about, just like a very concise bumper sticker would do. Like, you read that bumper sticker, what that person's all about. It's the same when it comes to your website. So we see that a lot.
Yeah, within 3 seconds of somebody coming to your website or your social media, they should know exactly what kind of author you are. You know what I mean? They should be able to be like, oh, like, for example, if somebody comes to my website, like I said, I write inspirational self-help books about gratitude. When you go to my blog, I only write blog posts that are related to that category. And it's very intentional that I do that, because when somebody goes into Google and types, how to start a gratitude journal, or inspirational books about gratitude, or whatever, anything related to gratitude, my website's probably going to be one of the first things that pop up, because I have created a website around gratitude. And people know that that's what my books are about. And it's much easier for people to find you if you are staying within your genre, instead of like doing the hodgepodge. And I think that this is a bit of an epidemic in the author community, that authors think they need to be everybody to everyone or whatever, and that's like the exact opposite of what you want to do. You want to make it as easy for your readers to find you and your book as possible.
And to that point, you want to make it easy for them to purchase your book too. We see a lot of authors who have these beautiful websites, and it takes you 10 clicks to figure out where their book is on it at all, and how to purchase it. This is such a simple little thing, but so many authors miss it. It should be a really, really easy purchase. Don't make people go through a bunch of hoops to buy your book.
People want to buy your book. If they're there, they want to buy your book. Like,
right.
And your website can be just as simple as like your book and a little synopsis, and buy my book on Amazon. Done. Like, honestly, it does not have to be. You don't have to have a huge blog with like your daily reflections and thoughts about life. Like, you know what I mean? It can just be the book. That's it.
Right. And you can, to be clear, you can, if you want to do that, if you want to write daily reflections or whatever,
go for it.
Feel free to do that. We do, when we work with authors, we do tell them, and for so many authors, this is kind of like mind-blowing information. Less is more when it comes to your website. So if you, again, I'm sort of assuming that you might not want to blog on a weekly basis. Maybe you're interested in doing it like once a month, or once every 2 months, or once every year. That's fine. Everything on your website should be evergreen content. Get it? Evergreen content, meaning that it's going to be sustainable and it's going to last through the lifetime of your book. So that means that when you're thinking, gosh, I thought of a really cool blog post. For Josie's example, I'm going to create, a blog post about gratitude around the holidays, right? Well, which is a great idea. when she's creating that blog post, though, she's going to be doing it with a marketing mindset, meaning she's going to be thinking about SEO. She's going to be thinking about how to create bullet points and lists, because those are the things that people really gravitate toward when they're, searching in Google or whatever, and they're searching for certain types of content. That type of content also lives really well on other search engine sites like Pinterest. We have a free workshop on our website about Pinterest. You should check it out if you haven't already, because Pinterest is not social media. It is a search engine. So I just want to put that little caveat in there if you have interest in Pinterest. Oh, that was good. Amy says, marketing in narrow specific channels where you can use tactics consistently will be sustainable and effective 100%. Yep.
Yep. I feel like it's the opposite of the advice, like, again, that authors get, which is like, be everywhere, do everything.
Yes.
Tell MLM marketer, like, everybody's a potential mark. No, that is like the exact opposite of what you want to do. Really. You want to niche down to like, just tell people exactly what your book's about, what your brand's about, and then they'll find you. Like that's like how it works.
And I do think, based on
right.
the books that I'm seeing in the chat, I mean, I can see very clearly that you have, all of you here have very specific people that are going to be the most interested in your book. So find them there, talk to them there, engage with them there. Don't just sell to them there, but like engage to them there. Because that's going to make your life a whole lot easier and this whole marketing stuff a lot more enjoyable for you.
Can I say too, I just like to share this story. We shared this in our other presentation, but about this author that I met, I met her at a writer's conference, and she was talking to me about my Amazon ads class. And she was like, oh, I want to start, doing Amazon ads for my book. But it's like really specific. So I don't know, and I said, well, what are you doing right now? And she's like, well, my book's about colon health. And what she would do is go to clinics and speak to like doctors and nurses and just sell her book by the box to doctors and nurses. Right. And I was like, well, how many books have you sold? And she's like, oh, I've sold 50,000 copies just doing that. So this is what I'm saying to you guys is like, she wasn't like everywhere doing this whole, like, you know what I mean? Trying to sell everybody on colon health. She was going to exactly where her ideal readers were at and telling them about her book. And that is all you need to do. Like I said, okay. So just stop feeling like you have to create all the all the social media accounts and all of the blah, blah, blah. Just find where your readers are. That's it. And then sell your book to them, or, you know what I mean? Tell them about your book, basically.
Yes, exactly. And this actually leads to our next question really well. Should I hire someone to manage my author platforms? So most of the time, by the time authors come to us, sadly, they have probably spent a lot of money and are really not in a great place to spend more. And they're really nervous about that idea. And we've had a lot of authors say, I heard that so-and-so they'll take over my Facebook account for 10 days or whatever, or, this person, if I go on a retainer for 3 months, will take over my Amazon ad campaign or will write blogs for me. I personally do not think that anyone is needed to be hired for any of your author platforms. If you have the money to do that, if you have the resources to do that, we have plenty of business book authors who, maybe they have interns at their disposal, or they have, people who manage their content on their website. That's a whole different story. But if this is, kind of your side gig, this is something that you are trying to sell and just sort of see what happens for you, less is more. We do not think that you need to hire any sort of social media manager or any sort of, someone to take over all of this for you. In fact, there is so much liberation in understanding how these things work for yourself. It's one of the reasons that we, despite being asked on a pretty much a daily basis from authors to run their Amazon ad campaigns for them, we simply won't do it. And the reason is because when you understand how the science of creating a really great blog post, that is marketing information that you can take with you for the lifetime of your career. And it's the same with running Amazon ads. It's the same with engaging with people on Facebook or Instagram. And come on, we're all smart enough to know when, a celebrity has someone else running their social media for them. We can see it. We're not idiots, right? So you don't need any of that to make you feel legitimate or successful.
Yeah, let me tell a story again, okay? To just hit home why you shouldn't hire somebody to do this for you. So for example, I'm all about Amazon ads. I think I've made that transparent by now. But the reality is when I first started running my Amazon ad campaigns, I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean? I learned as I went, and so I started running ads, and I kind of thought, since my book is sort of like, Chicken Soup for the Soul meets The Secret, I thought that whole The Secret, Law of Attraction crowd would be the people who'd be buying my book. So when I started running my Amazon ads, I started getting all this data into like who's actually reading my book. And what was revealed to me from running these ads is that it wasn't that crowd at all that was interested in my book. It was people who were looking for books about forgiveness, about self-compassion, about being kind to yourself, about things like that whole like self-love movement. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that is like such information that I would have never known if somebody else was running my campaigns for me. And it totally changed the way that I marketed my book, and it actually was a much more like, I'd say, kind of like the audience I was actually really going for anyways, but didn't really know, but I needed to see that data in front of me. And so here's the other deal. So like we get asked all the time to do Amazon ad campaigns, and I always refer people to the course because it's so much better if you can learn how to do this yourselves, because you get that data. And the reality is I've been inside people's Amazon ad campaigns who have hired people to do ad campaigns for them. And I can tell you that I say this with love, like these people don't know what the heck they're doing. I mean, oh my gosh, you should just see like some of the keywords they're using. It's just a mess. And so, like I said, the reality is nobody's going to care about your book as much as you do. That is just the truth. And so that is why you should be the one learning how to do this. Unless for some reason, like you're like totally independently wealthy and this book is kind of just like a vanity project, then okay, whatever, hire all the people you want. But if it's you, then you should be learning how to do it, and because it's for your best interest as an author.
You're totally right. And it's not just through ad campaigns that you get that data that is going to help you make marketing decisions going forward. We worked with an author really recently who wrote an educational book. And so all it took was her understanding how to go into Squarespace and see how people were finding her website. That's all she had to do. And Squarespace is amazing about showing you this is where people are coming from, and these are the search terms that they're using on Google to find you. She took those search terms. Some of them were like, secondary teaching, math curriculum for high school, stuff like that. She took those exact search terms and then made those into blog posts. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like reverse engineering the marketing process. Instead of just making a guess, like, oh, so-and-so does Facebook, I should do Facebook, right? Instead of just like throwing spaghetti to the wall and seeing what happens, it means that you have data to support. This is a really good idea for my book. This is a subject that I should probably touch on because this is how people are finding me. And truth be told, that is probably going to inspire what you write your second or third or fourth book about, right? I mean,
can I just say my third book right now that I'm publishing is based on my most popular blog post on my blog right now. That has been my most popular post for years now. And from readers reaching out to me like, do you have any more books? Do you have any books on this? And like, honestly, like I wrote the book specifically because of that. So that's how powerful it is to actually look at your data and what your readers are interested in. It's fascinating,
Yep. And I want to say something really pointed here to the memoirists that are on this call, because I think this is especially important when you have written an autobiographical story that is very tender to you. because it is really easy to get caught up in other people's enthusiasm. I do think that there are just a lot of predatory people out there that are happy to take advantage of people who are vulnerable. And it's not that you are vulnerable as a person. I'm saying your subject matter is vulnerable to you, and it is even more important that you stay very connected and grounded to this process, because this data is going to reveal to you how you can continue to touch other people's lives through your stories. And I just think, when you have a business book and you look at some of this data, and you can compartmentalize a little bit different when it's fiction, or if it's a business book. But if it's a memoir, if it's something that's very personal to you, Josie can certainly speak to this as well. It's all the more important that you get really intentional about who you are allowing to take over some of this kind of sacred marketing space for you.
Totally.
Does that make sense?
It does. And I just want to say there's like so many scammers out there right now, especially with authors. So here's the real deal. Like with Roseanne and I, like Evergreen Authors, we just, all we do is we offer books and courses teaching you how to do this stuff. That's our shtick. And so if you go to our website, you can take a course and learn how to do something. We don't offer like thousands upon thousands of dollars of like, we'll do your book marketing for you. Okay. I just want to be upfront. You're probably going to ask us to do that like everybody does, but don't just take one of our courses instead. I just want to tell you that. So just be really careful, especially once you hit publish, because people are going to try to come at you with some really overpriced book marketing services that you most likely do not need.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We could talk about this one.
Oh gosh. Okay. Oh, what are some unique ways you've seen authors use their platforms?
Ooh.
Yes, we love talking about the people who are thinking kind of outside of the box. One of our favorite subjects is Pinterest. I know I talked about it earlier, but I think that Pinterest is something that authors really overlook as a bonus search engine for them. It is a really great way for people to find you and your website and all of that wonderful evergreen content that might be on your website. So I think all you have to do, you don't have to look any further. If Pinterest is brand new to you and you've never even considered going onto that platform, just play on it a little bit this weekend, search for your favorite authors and see how they're using that platform to connect with their audiences. Those of you with highly visual books, you are at a decided advantage on Pinterest, because Pinterest is all about that really beautiful imagery. But even those of you who have memoirs, all of you, you're writers, right? The writing journey is about much more than putting pen to paper. It's editing, and it's book cover design, and it's creative inspiration. And Pinterest is a wonderful place for that. So I love that.
Yeah, I got contacted by Oprah's team because of a
That's
pin.
right. That's right. Yeah.
So
the holy grail.
If you want to learn more about that story, watch our free Pinterest tutorial.
Yes.
On our website. Yeah.
Yes.
But they called me because of a pin that I did. And I'm very active on Pinterest. That's like my jam. But I also write inspirational self-help. So anybody writing inspirational self-help books should be using Pinterest, because your audience is there. Just going to tell you. So
yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, when we think about unique ways that authors connect with their readers, a lot of that is around speaking and teaching. So we've seen other authors create online courses because of the pandemic, or maybe now as the world opens up a little bit more, they'll do something, an in-person event. And it's less about just going to a bookstore and signing books for people. It's about connecting with people. We worked with a cookbook author once who decided to take, she had a blog and she was trying to figure out how to connect with people on a consistent basis. And she just kept getting these requests for certain types of meal plans. So she was like, you know what, I think what I'm going to do is just like pitch this to my community center and see if I can do, like a afternoon workshop on how to meal plan for, hockey season or whatever it was. Right. So she did that. She ended up being able to sell like, instead of selling a $20 book, she was selling, $150 tickets to her afternoon workshop or, a cooking demo, and, selling books as part of that, creating more of a connection with our audience that way. This is what I'm saying. When you think a little bit broader than just quickly selling onesie twosie books, copies of your book, you can really get creative around what your platform can look like.
Yeah, I also want to say too, like once you actually start publishing your book and getting out there, it's almost like all these opportunities just will come a lot of times. Like for me, for example, once I published my book, it seemed like all of a sudden people just started asking me to speak places, and I, hadn't really spoken before. And it actually ended up turning into a career for me for quite some time, was professional speaking, and I kind of took some courses and learned how to do it, but it was something that came as a direct result of publishing the book. And so it's I think what Roseanne and I tell authors a lot is like, the book can be just one part of a bigger platform for you if you allow it to be.
Yes. Yes. The book is an extension of you, not the other
Yep.
way around. Okay. We see this a lot. How long should I spend on my platform before giving up on it? True story. I mean, I have had people come to me and say, you know what, Instagram doesn't work. I have been on it for a month and nothing is happening. Let me tell you, these platforms take time to figure out. Josie and I have been in the website and blogging business for a while, not just as Evergreen Authors, but as individual authors. And we have been flexible and changed and morphed and done all the things, right? So we often tell authors, especially when it comes to Amazon advertising, because people are like, okay, I took your course, I implemented your ad strategy, but it's been 2 weeks and I'm not seeing a lot of sales. The reality, and again, one of the reasons why you want to avoid hiring this out is because you are looking for a long-term strategy that you can run yourself. We kind of feel like you need a year's worth of data before you should be giving up. Now, that doesn't mean you do the same things over and over again for a year and just hope for the best. Within that, say you've made a commitment to Facebook, for example, and you're like, I know my readers are there. I want to create a group on there. I want to create a presence. And, after a month or two, you're not getting any traction, pivot. A lot of this work is all about being flexible and open-minded. Look at other authors who are doing it well. Look at people who are not authors who are doing it well and get inspiration from them. See how they're using the platform. It takes time to understand these platforms. One of the key things we have to tell people, and again, this is should be common knowledge, but it's not. Facebook is not in the business of selling your book. LinkedIn isn't in the business of selling your book or elevating your platform. As much as they say they are, they're not. They're in the business of keeping people on that platform, right? So they want to know that you are using it well and continually. There is a reason that it takes time to build these audiences. They want to keep you on there as well. So I say give all this stuff a year and give yourself some really good data to work with. If after a year of trying blogging or trying with a newsletter or trying on any sort of social media platform, if you're getting nowhere, then maybe it's time to rethink it, but give it some time.
Well, and the reason why we say a year too is because both Roseanne and I, like I said, it's been many years that we've been published now, and we've analyzed our data to death with our book sales. And both of us know, for each of us with our books, we have peak selling times of the year. So for me, since a book's about gratitude, November is just like every year, like ever since I published my book, it's always my biggest month of the year. So knowing that information, I start upping my advertising in like the end of August is kind of when I start ramping up and getting ready. And I always do a big push in the fall, because every year it's just been consistent for me. Whereas like spring, like right now, is kind of like, nothing's going on. And so it's really, really important to know when your times are, so then you can just ride that wave and push your advertising to coincide with those times, and just have like an evergreen sales system every year that you can continually sell books, right?
Exactly. Yep. Because as a teacher, my books, August is my month. middle of July is when I'm starting to think about things. And then August, I'm like, ooh, yes, I'm all about it. And my strategy has been to do a lot of Pinterest advertising around that time, because teachers love Pinterest. And I will sell lots of books in that month. But again, it's less, you don't want to just guesswork this. You really want to get some data behind it to support you. So take some time with it.
And I just want to say too, like every author who's ever taken my Amazon course, I get these like freak out emails in like April, May of like, did the algorithm change? And it's like, no, it's just like, it's like a dead time of year for books. So just know that going in, like maybe have something else going on in April and May, you know,
Yes.
or whatever. But when you start to look at your data, you're just going to notice that it's kind of like this. And then the longer you do it, you see that it's a consistent like this, and you can really capitalize on it.
Oh, well, we already talked about this because we
Yes.
couldn't help ourselves, but how can I use the data I get from my platform to help me in marketing my book? In a million ways. All of that data that you get, even the data that's bad, even the data that says, gosh, I didn't sell anything based on this blog post or this social media post. The bad data is also good data, because that is going to inform your work going forward. Josie and I are so practiced at this that literally, you know, as authors, right, you get all of these like cold emails all the time. Would you like to have somebody take over your digital marketing strategy? All the time. And within a half a second, I can be like, nope, nope. Ooh, that's interesting. Nope, nope. Because I already know I'm working from a place of not emotion, but actual data.
It doesn't sound cool. And I know your book's your baby. I get it. It's like a little part of you that you just want to swaddle up. But at the end of the day, and I know this sounds cold, but it's a product, and you have to like get a little bit unemotional about it and just straight up look at the data and use that to make your decisions, as opposed to like, oh, my baby, you know? And
Yes.
like it's okay to have it be your baby, but also, like I said, you kind of have to detach a little bit once you actually put it out in the world, just like you do a real baby. You know, they have to eventually go free someday.
Yes, your launch event can be all as emotional as you want it to be, because again, those are going to be the people who love and know you and support you no matter what. So that's your time to really enjoy that emotional process and celebrate. And then moving forward, you want to just, you know, adjust the sales a little bit. So you're becoming a bit of a data scientist.
We might be getting a little jaded, Roseanne, because we have like a bunch of books. It's just like when you have a bunch of kids, you're just like, they're fine. But with the first one, you're like, oh, you know, so I apologize if we're a little bit too jaded with all this stuff. We're just, you know what I mean?
We're realists.
We're realists. Yeah.
How do you predict author platforms are going to change post-pandemic? I think this is probably a pretty simple one, because Josie and I just talked about this week. I don't know if you guys are feeling it where you are, but we are certainly feeling that people are itching to get together. And I think that there are, you know, assuming that we are out of a pandemic and moving into something a little bit more, I don't know, something. I think that people want to get together. And I think there's a really good opportunity for those of you who are authors, speakers, teachers to teach and get out there and create community again.
Writers' workshops, book launch parties. Just, or if you have a certain subject matter that you're passionate about that has to do with your book, that's
book clubs. I think book clubs are just dying
totally
to get together again. So
people are starving for it. Yep. Oh, ooh, we made it. All right. Questions.
This is it.
This is it. Yeah. Anybody have any questions? Please. Amy, if you want to pop back on, feel free.
Hi there. Yes, I was actually just going to pop back on. I remember Roseanne talking about, you know, teachers paying teachers and, you know, other places like that are just a little outside of like the standard platform building tools, but are really niche specific. I'm just wondering if you have any other examples of those for other genres, or even if you just want to talk a little bit about that one.
Sure. I love Teachers Pay Teachers. So my fourth book is a teacher guide. And so I have a physical book that's available on Amazon. And I realized that a lot of teachers use this website called Teachers Pay Teachers. If you haven't heard of it, it's a place to go.
Can I say I'm married to a teacher, and I rip on my husband all the time because I'm like, do we even create your own lesson plans anymore? Because like there are so many Teachers Pay Teachers charges on our bill every month. It's like a thing. So just want to say
it totally is. And so I decided maybe I could create, just take the PDF version of my book and put it on that website to see if anybody would be interested in downloading it. That was years ago, and I still monthly and can easily sell that PDF version of my book through Teachers Pay Teachers. I get a bigger cut than what I would get from Amazon. It's a totally digital copy, so there's no shipping costs involved. And I alluded to this because I understand my sales cycle so well. When I'm, the end of July, August, and maybe early September timeframe, when I'm really doing my ads full force, when I'm on Pinterest, I'm usually leading people to Teachers Pay Teachers because I get more money that way and it's easier. So,
and teachers love it. They really do. Like I said.
Yes.
So if you're not a teacher, you're not an educator, how, can you utilize that platform too?
You can, but you just, teachers speak a special teacher language. So I think that proceed with caution. The best thing that you can do is maybe download a couple of books from there, download some lesson plans. If you could create a lesson plan to go along with your book, that might be a really great thing to do on that platform. Try that. But you can just proceed with caution.
It's not for everybody though. I mean, really,
Right.
like it's again, if your book is geared toward teachers, or if you have like a YA book that is something teachers could use in their classroom, then yes, but otherwise, if you're just kind of, it's not a place to just go and put your book. Like, again, you got to go if your ideal readers are there.
And sorry for going down that little rabbit hole. I just,
No,
I think that's such a cool resource that you guys have brought to my awareness. I just love listening to you guys because, just your philosophy is so simple, and it's all about incorporating book marketing into your life in a way that's sustainable. And, to me, the most successful authors that we have are not everywhere, are not doing everything, but have found one or two or maybe three tops strategies where they can reach their readers in places where their readers are congregating. And, if you're able to sell directly, if you're able to get bulk orders, I think that, that's really the best way to go about it. I just wanted to share one author that we're working with. She's writing a children's book about divorce, and her strategy is going to be going directly to divorce attorneys and family therapists.
Ooh,
and she's not going anywhere else. Like, she's not bothering with,
smart
all the other stuff to start. She's starting really narrow and focused. She's spending her time researching, and then she is focusing on, what challenges do these people have, not her readers, but what challenges do these divorce attorneys have? What challenges do these therapists have? They might not have enough resources for that communication that are, that's simple. Attorneys, maybe need something to set themselves apart from a marketing perspective. And so she's appealing to the needs of the therapists and the needs of the attorneys as she's making her pitches.
That's so smart.
To sell in bulk.
Yep.
Amazing.
Brilliant. Yep.
Yeah.
Because why sell one book if you can sell 10 or 20 at a time? We say that all the time.
Or 500. Right?
Yes. Exactly.
Totally.
Yes.
Totally. Well, the other thing too is there's something to be said about those groups of people are like, they're like a network, a small group of people, and the lawyers talk, the therapists talk. They're like, oh, I got this awesome book from, do you read one of these? And then it just kind of
Yep.
spreads organically, which is the ultimate, you know?
Yep.
Right, right. And it leads to other opportunities. But I think starting narrow is, just from building a business myself, I know that starting narrowly and letting it ripple outward from there
Mhm.
leads to manageable growth. And one success builds on another, And yeah, I think the old way of book marketing is like, it's the launch, it's the blast, it's, it's really
Mhm.
big. And if you're not doing it in this really big way, it's not going to be successful. But I think I love how you guys talk about book marketing as marketing a business. And it is about those incremental steps
Mhm.
Mhm.
and doing them with intention. So thank you so much for this great presentation.
Our
Sorry,
pleasure.
I've been-
Thanks for having us. Yeah. We love you
Anytime.
guys.
Yep.
We love you too. Any other questions that anybody has that didn't
I
get
have a-
answered or?
I have a question. I heard Josie say her number one recommendation to sell a book is targeted advertising on Amazon. So where does a new author go to begin to learn about targeted advertising on Amazon?
Well, that's a good question. We we have a free workshop on our website about targeted advertising on Amazon too. So I would check that out. See, there's a lot. We're very much, Rosanna and I, like, we try to give away as much as we can, like on our website. Do you know what I mean? To teach you. And if you want to know more, like the, step by step, here's how to do it, then we have a course on our site that you can take that will literally walk you through step by step. Here's how to run Amazon ads. But I would, with the caveat, like, I wouldn't start doing it until your book's actually published. You want to wait till you have it all on Amazon first. It's not going to teach you how to like upload your book onto Amazon and all that kind of stuff. It's like straight up, here's how to run ads. Here's how to reach your ideal readers. And there's tons of free tutorials, out there on the web too. I just feel like if you want to just like get going, just check out the free workshop and take the course if you
Yep.
want.
And I
Thank you.
will say, I want you to hear this. I am as technologically challenged as they come. And our running
True.
joke is that if Roseanne can learn how to run Amazon ads, that anyone can. So
True.
if anybody feels like intimidated by the technology as I did, you can learn it. I promise. If I can do it, anybody can.
I'm going to
True.
put a link to that Amazon ads free workshop
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah.
right in the chat.
Perfect.
That's right there. And you guys, they have a lot of other really great resources on their website, evergreenauthors.com, several free ones. They have a great blog that has lots of other advice and tutorials. So check it out. And if you like what you heard today, check out some of their paid courses as well to really just walk you through, sometimes it's worth it to just, get the spoon-fed version that will save you time, save you
Totally.
energy, make it easy on yourself. So
Yep.
they've done
Totally.
the hard work of figuring it all out for you. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh.
True
Well, thank
story.
you guys. Any other questions before we sign off? I know we're 5 minutes over here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're
Our
welcome.
pleasure.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, appreciate everything, you guys, and thank you all for being here today. And we'll see you all soon.
All right. Sounds good.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.